Hello, everybody. I have a very special guest here who is in the middle of launching one of the game-changing products here for kids and toddlers. I cannot wait to dive into talking so much more today. Welcome, Erica Beth Levin. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know you because we met through when we both lived in Chicago many moons ago,
Yes.
some mutual friends from Northwestern. But I want everybody else to know you and know your story. So, like, let's start from the beginning, how you got to where you are today, and then I have a zillion more questions for you.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me. And it is so nice to see you again. So I appreciate it. And two, how did I get to where I am today? That's the question, right?
Mhm.
Okay. I'll
Yeah.
do my
Yeah.
best to start from the beginning. After Northwestern, as you just mentioned, I actually started my first company pretty soon after graduation. So I was 24 years old and it was really my first foray into entrepreneurship and hiring people, starting a brand from the ground up, raising money, all of that stuff. So I learned a lot through that experience. I ran it for 8 years. It became maybe 7 years. It became like the number one online resource for women in Chicago on what to do, where to go. And we evolved actually, kind of with the life of this woman that we were speaking to through our online platform, into kind of more sophisticated topics, whether it be real estate or finance or food or, or eating, health, nutrition, things like that. And we took these kind of this online community offline into these real world events. So we were able to garner really cool advertisers like Lululemon and Nike and Coca-Cola, for instance. And then after that, and that also put me much more into the restaurant space. I was food writing, for many publications, doing coverage on restaurants and things of that nature. And then I went on to be one of the first employees for a company called Reserve, which at the time was kind of like an Uber service for reservations. You had your own private concierge, but then it morphed into a table management system. And we were working with some of the best restaurants in Chicago. And it was really cool to be part of a venture backed startup for the first time, be part of, the opening team, one of the first 10 employees. So that was exciting. And then after that, I had my baby. I was pregnant at that company, which I think I was. I know I was like the first person to be pregnant at the company. It was such a new space. And
Mhm.
it was acquired by Resi. So now when you use Resi, part of our technology is part of that. So I had my son and I just decided I wanted to spend a little time with him. So I consulted for a ton of startups, actually a lot out of California. And this is my third. So the second one wasn't mine, but this is my third startup involvement. This one is just me this time. And it's called Globowl. And we could talk about that too. But I think those first two kind of entrepreneurial experiences really set me on the path of being here. I had a real job for like 5 years in between, and I loved it. I was the global director of sales for a hospitality consulting company, so also restaurants, food, hotels, things like that. So I was working with really cool clients. But I think that whole experience, and it was 5 years long, and it was wonderful because I worked from home. I got to be with my children, but I always knew, I was meant to do something with all my heart, and on my own again. And this idea struck me during the pandemic. My baby was starting to eat solid foods, and I knew we couldn't leave our four walls, let alone like the state, the country.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring the world to my child, and the only way I know how to do that is really through food. And that's where the idea came from, and here we are today. So I hope that wasn't
Yeah.
too long winded.
No, my gosh. Oh, no, no, no. I mean, two things. I was one of your subscribers, and I think and it seems like like so long ago, but it wasn't. And like
Yeah.
I knew everything because of you. And
Thank you.
two, I am not a person to delete apps. I still have the Reserve app on my phone.
No way. That's
I'm not
awesome.
kidding. My phone's like across the room here, but
I love that.
it is there.
This is very, very cool startup. So thank you for
Yeah,
supporting it.
of course, of course. I mean, anything with food and anything with an
Yes.
expert like yourself behind it, like there to support.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, you talked a little bit about, the impetus for your new company, but like, I I have three kids and it was so hard, especially with my first, who's 5.5 now, of like, how do I introduce this food? I work full time, like
Right.
when I had him, I was still like running marathons. Like I was like
Oh my
doing
gosh.
all the things and like I enjoy cooking, but like it was I'm like, I'm not giving you kid food, but here's this, and then you're not going to eat it. And, just like sort of like trying and failing. And there was no other options. Like, even living in Los Angeles, like,
Yeah.
no other options for flavor or how to introduce those things. And we have an amazing pediatrician who, like, was like, introduce everything early. Like, literally put like peanut butter, shellfish, dairy,
Yes.
just put it in a blender and give it to him.
Yes.
And
Yes.
as a new parent, that's terrifying.
Yes.
Having second and third kids, it's like, okay, whatever, you'll be fine.
Yes.
But 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 still many years later, like there isn't something there's stuff on the market that's glorified baby food,
Yeah.
but not food.
Right.
So
Right.
like I would love to know like, you know, how you decided on this and then sort of the reason why, like, because
Yeah.
it's needed. It's so needed.
Thank thank you for saying that, and I did a lot of market research, and that's what predominantly every single mom said, and dads too, and even grandparents that wish that this was around, like our parents' ages, right? Like, I wish we had this for our kids sort of thing. So, thank you for saying that because it
Yeah.
is needed, and I felt the same way. Usually, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention, right? So,
Mhm.
what happened was, with my son, my first, like you said, you're terrified of giving him all this stuff. So I was hesitant to give my son texture, flavor, and spice, right? Like I actually was really good about giving him allergens. I was scared, but I was good. I was like, I don't want a kid with allergies. And so I'm going to do what my doctor said. My doctor also said, give him all the foods from all over
Mhm.
the world, like all the spice, not, I mean, we don't need to set their mouth on fire, but don't be
Right.
afraid of a little pepper or something like that.
Yeah.
But I was. And so he's still a pretty bad eater. He's actually
Mhm.
in this room, so I don't want to. But so with my daughter, like you said, you don't worry as much about the second or third kid. And
Mhm.
so when she was eating, and again, it was during quarantine when we couldn't even leave, I'm like, she's eating what we're eating. I'm not making 2 dinners anymore. I'm not doing 3 dinners anymore. And I want her to be a good eater. Like food is my
Mhm.
passion. Like it is everything to me. Same with my husband. He
Mhm.
just said, I'm sorry, I'm not a good eater from the
Oh,
background.
it's
I'm
okay,
sorry.
sweet.
And now he said he's sorry he talked because I told him I was
Oh,
going to be on a podcast.
okay.
So
Kids
anyway,
love
he's very sorry. So with the baby, we were eating coconut curry one night with shrimp. So tons of allergens in it, right? You got coconut, you got shrimp, you got all of it. And we just gave it to her, and she loved it. And so that same week, we gave her this saffron pasta, which it's still a staple in our family, like a rotation. We love it. She eats pesto all the time, and I'd given her pesto right from the beginning. She still eats it all the time. So it just kind of taught me they are going to eat what you are giving them, right? For the most part.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
just in doing all my research and also, not wanting a kid with food allergies, I had been giving my kids allergens early, but then doing more research on it, kids all over the world do not have food allergies like they have here in the United States. I'm not saying they don't exist, but it is far less prevalent. Like kids are 10 times less likely to have food allergies in other parts of the world. So, and if you think about why, the way that they feed their children is different. They are feeding their children what's on their plates. And so, international food in general is like chock full of allergens. So, if you're giving your kid pad thai and it has peanut butter or peanuts in it or whatever, or shellfish or fish
Yeah.
sauce, whatever it might be, you're automatically giving your kids these allergens with these amazing flavors. So, these kids are better eaters, right? Just in terms of variety. And they're also, for the most part, they don't have the food allergies that we have here. So now, and then in doing further research, I know now that early allergen introduction is a practice recommended by the USDA. It's recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics. It's recommended by the American Academy of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology. I mean, this is a practice that we should be implementing into our day-to-day lives. We just maybe didn't know that before. But now pediatricians are telling us, and so I wanted to do that through delicious meals. Like I didn't want a picky eater and I didn't want a kid with allergies. So like, how do we put them together? Oh, we just eat like the rest of the world, right? We just feed our kids like the rest of the world. Most other families in other countries are not giving their kids pouches with just pureed fruits and vegetables in them. It's a lot of sugar. It leads to overconsumption too, because one pouch isn't enough to feed a kid. You need two
Right.
or three.
Yeah.
So our food Globowl is whole meals in jars. And it honestly, if you took the pad thai that you ordered from your favorite like neighborhood spot, chopped it up really, really small, right? That's
Yeah.
what our food is. It's really, I mean, it's formulated for kids, so it's not overly salty. It's naturally sweetened and things like that. So it's healthy, but you would enjoy it. I mean, it tastes good. Kids can enjoy what food is supposed to taste like. So
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to do.
That's amazing because I mean, the twins are just over a year old, and I tried to figure out like how do we introduce them to allergens. And there's a lot of amazing companies out there trying to do something, but it's not food. It's having the seasonings or the flavors, like put it in
Powders.
their milk or like
Yes,
put it in some oatmeal.
exactly.
And we're like not like the oatmeal cereal family. Like we didn't
We
start the kids
didn't.
on it. We're like, if you're gonna have food, here's some like scrambled eggs or like
Yes, yes,
something like that. Cause it's like it's also like the texture of it too.
yes.
Cause the texture of food around the world is super different. And babies in this country are raised on the mush.
Yes. I always say, like, get rid of the mush because
Yeah.
there are textural aversions because of it, right? So if you and every parent can transition their kid to solids the way they feel most comfortable. I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong way. There's a
No,
right way for my
no.
family. And in just talking to my pediatricians and talking to people on my board now, pediatric dentists, pediatric nutritionists, like kids really should be learning how to chew, right? It's working these muscles, it's developing their palate. So when they're chewing their food instead of drinking it, right, from a pouch or whatever, they're learning that muscle, movement. They're learning how to chew. They're learning how to swallow, and they're learning how their palate is developing. So it's really quite important. And our food is all formulated in a safe size for children, whether they have teeth or not, right? So they can gum it. It's cut properly to the right size, but it's
Right.
also the texture, right? Or
Yeah.
it's not too firm, so it can be gummed. So we've tried to think of everything to make parents comfortable. And if purees are the way to go for a little bit between breast milk and formula, absolutely make the
Yeah.
transition eventually. But for us, that kind of salsa stew like texture worked really, really well, and it's great for kids to learn how to do all the things they're going to be needing to do for the rest of their lives when it comes to eating, and hopefully
Yeah.
setting them up for better eating adventures.
Yeah. Yeah. And having that really healthy relationship with food from the get-go.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. That's so important.
Yeah. And then so tell us about these flavors because it is lunchtime here, and I want to
Yes.
know more. Tell me tell
We're
me all the flavors they'll be launching.
Yeah, so we're really trying to introduce kids to culture through food, right? So really great flavors and authentic dishes from around the world. So the first four that we came up with that we're launching with is a pad thai for tots, which I already talked about. Tastes
Mhm.
so good. We have a veggie tikka masala, and we
Mm.
have a Latin bean bowl, or we call it baby spices bean bowl. It's sort of like a chili. And
Yeah.
we also have a Mediterranean bowl, Yaya's Mediterranean bowl, which is like feta and roasted red pepper. And it's app tahini. So you've got some of the
Yeah.
allergen in the
Yeah,
sesame.
yeah.
So it's really delicious. And then we're already starting to formulate and think ahead of like other places around the world that we want to travel through with
Yeah.
our food or through our food. So we're talking with a chef in Chicago, an Ethiopian chef about doing a skew, Peruvian skew, maybe Italian, like a bunch. Eventually
Mhm.
we'd love to hit all over the world. And I'm accumulating a really cool chef advisory board of people that specialize in these cuisines, so that
Yeah.
it's not only authentic, but they believe in it too, and they can promote it to their friends and followers and things because they believe in the product. So it's been really exciting to put together the chef advisory board of like really great, some very well-known chefs that are super excited about this because this is the way they feed their kids.
Right. Right. Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably like the lifestyle. They're just like, this is it. This is the
Yes.
key.
Yes. Yes.
And amazing, amazing. And then it's so awesome too. Like even prior to launching, just like this momentum and support, and you have the medical community on board. You have got the chef community on
Yeah.
board. It's just an absolute win. So I can't wait to try it. A, but B, where will it be sold, or is that sort of in the works as well?
Yeah, I mean, we're always available on our website. So www.globowl.com. We are not a
Yeah.
glowing toilet bowl company, although that does exist.
Oh, no.
It's a play on global. So global.com. And then we're available right now, actually, at quite a few shops in Chicago. We'll be launching on Amazon via their Launchpad platform, which is an invite only portion of Amazon for emerging, like innovative brands, which is a really cool, exciting place that we're going to be. And
Yeah.
then stay tuned for other locations, but we will be announcing them soon, and you will have them in your backyard. There's some pretty big stores that we're getting on board with.
Yes, yes. And then an important question, are they can how are they prepared or
Oh,
in your freezer and are they
yes, I
shelf
should have said
stable?
this because this
Yeah.
to me, as a busy mom, just like you have three, I only have two, but
Yeah.
like, wow, like we're
Yeah.
always busy for lack of better words. So I wanted the food, Global's food, to be as convenient as these pouches, but better for you, right?
Yeah.
So they're shelf stable. So you get to throw it in your diaper bag, you get to throw it in your purse or whatever, or leave it on the counter. It doesn't matter, and
Incredible.
you have the same convenience as anything else. We use safety is our number one concern, obviously. So we use a very
Yeah.
high pressure, high heat filled process that
Yeah.
keeps the food shelf stable. Once you open it, obviously, you put it in the fridge, just
Mhm.
like anything else.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I was like, I was sick and tired of having to carry, PBJ pies everywhere I went and like ice packs and stuff. I'm like, who needs this? Like I don't need an ice packs and sandwiches and all this stuff, in my bag. So hopefully this is an answer for a lot of people who
Yeah.
are on the go. And even if they're not on the go, like you need to feed your kids at home too. And guess what? Not everyone wants to cook every night. Not everyone can cook, by the way, or
Mhm.
have any desire to cook. Or
Right.
use that time when you would be cooking to spend time with your family, do homework together,
Mhm.
play a game, whatever. It takes a lot of pressure off of people. And that's to me like I just want parents to feel good about the choices that they're making and like feel
Yeah.
like they're doing the right thing. And that's like to me that's a win. If you feel good giving this food to your kids, which you should because it's healthy and you're hopefully expanding their palate and even their minds, right? Like with just the introduction of all these things from around the world. That's my goal is to make parents feel happy and not nervous about what they're giving their kids and feel really good
Yeah.
about it when they go to sleep at night.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something that is so, so key, especially with working parents today. It's you're giving them a choice to take time back.
Yes,
And,
yes, yes.
and not many things do that. Like there's so many parents who want to do it all for their kids and here's the perfect organic food and here I've this I cooked for you and that's great, but that is a time suck.
Yes.
The
Yes.
shopping, the cooking, the cleaning, the all of the kid not eating it, and here's a plan B meal. Uh,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
solution. It's what parents want and it's what kids need, more time
Yes.
together.
Yes, yes, thank you. You said it better than I. So it's perfect.
Oh, it's great. And then, I mean, it also sounds like if the parents are in a pinch too for their own dinner,
Oh my god.
they
I
can steal the
I
kids' food.
this is like an annoying story. All my friends are sick of hearing it, but like my husband literally eats the food all the time. And I have to tell him, stop it. Like, stop opening the jars. Like, I will whip you up a batch. I will make it
Yeah,
in bulk, if you will,
yeah, yeah.
and I will feed it to our family, but do not open those jars. Like, yeah, stop. But it really is that good. The only thing I would do for us as adults is like add more salt, but kids shouldn't have more salt. Like we work
Mhm,
with pediatric nutritionists and dietitians to make
mhm.
sure that this is a very balanced meal. And the other thing I'd say too, just like with the pouches, and I said there's more than one, to fill up, right? Like,
Yes. Yeah,
which
yeah.
leads to overconsumption. But more than that, like unhealthy eating habits. Like when you're like that, when you're being taught to just eat as much as you want until you're full, it's your tummy isn't giving you the cues that you're full because you're not chewing. You're not the calories and whatever the work exertion of your face chewing and your teeth chewing and all that. So, we're giving kids a very balanced meal while also setting them up for better eating habits down the line, and
Yeah.
also just your ability to take them to an Indian restaurant down the street or the Chinese restaurant down the street or the Ethiopian restaurant down the street and feel good that your kid is going to eat it,
Mhm.
introducing them early. Kids have a flavor window, which I did not know about until I started this.
Yeah,
Between
tell me
4
more
and
about
8, yeah, it seems obvious once you say it out loud, but I never thought about it. Between 4 and 18 months of age is when we can most easily influence the way kids eat for the rest of their lives. Period. So during that time is when we should be giving them all the texture, all the
Mhm.
flavor, all the spice. And again, when I say spice, I don't necessarily mean hot. I just mean spices, thyme, saffron, cayenne, whatever it is, so get it in that time, right? And you're setting your kids up for just more diverse eating, I suppose,
Mhm.
and less picky. Let's say less picky, because that is the dreaded word. That is what we don't want in our kids, is picky eating.
Yep, yep. My oldest son, like, we still have to, like, take stuff with us if we go to a
Oh,
restaurant,
same, same.
and it's like the younger 2, I'm like, "How do we avoid this?"
Yes,
And, you know, but it sounds like there's a solution, and it's very close to being right here in my pantry,
yeah,
so
good. Hopefully, it'll be in California soon. I will definitely keep you posted.
yes, please, please do. Okay, so shift gears a moment.
Yeah,
You're a serial entrepreneur creating
it's crazy.
awesome things that we all need. How do you find time for yourself? Like, how do you, like, take care of
Hmm.
yourself in a way that kind of resets you?
Yeah, I've learned to let some things go, right? So many times we think of self-care as like health and wellness, which it is, right? But like I had to let go of the fact of like I also commute for work. So and travel a lot. So I had to
Mm,
look at what health and wellness meant to me. So instead of like saying, "Oh my god, I haven't done my hour yoga class in so long and I feel like a failure." It's more like, "Can I get 10 minutes of stretching in? Can I just wake up and do some sun salutations?" Like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like we as working parents, busy parents, whatever it is, like we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And if we don't, I mean, my Peloton has been collecting dust for like a year and a half. And so and sometimes I would look up there longingly and I'd say,
mhm.
"How sad, I haven't seen you." But the fact is, like, I don't know the next time I'm gonna have time to get on that Peloton. I
Yeah.
literally, it's embarrassing when the last time was. But I do have little moments during the day that I can do this. And I was working with a coach. I just graduated from like a incubator program called Techstars, like a global business
Oh, cool.
accelerator. They're incredible
Yeah.
and very prestigious. Like, not, I'm not saying for my sake, just in general, like
Yeah.
the amount of learnings that came out of it were incredible. And I worked with a coach and he's like, "What are you going to do for yourself? It's like, you're always telling me that you're doing this for the kids or this for your husband or this for your mom and dad." Cause they're part of my family. My mom and dad are a huge part of my life, and my kids' life. And he said, "Well, what do you think you can reasonably do? Because you keep telling me you're going to do yoga. You haven't done it." "Okay, that's true. So what can you do?" He's like, I go, "You know what I really want to do? This is so dumb. But like, I really just want to wash my face and do the after part of washing your face, like
Yeah, yeah.
the
All the stuff.
astringent or the lotion or whatever." I'm like, "I
Yeah.
just want to do my skincare routine. I don't even know when I've done that." He's like, just take time. Like, even in between meetings, who cares? Just do it
Yeah.
for yourself. And I did it. And honestly, it's one thing I've been doing pretty regularly, which I didn't think I had time for. But you know what? It makes me feel like good. It just makes me feel like, okay, I'm going to bed clean and happy.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so it's like I guess all of those long drawn out way of saying, like, don't put pressure on yourself, to do, what you consider for something for you. It could be as little as like those 10 minutes of stretching when you get out of bed. Oh, and one thing I do
Great.
do is I meditate with my children at almost, I shouldn't say every night, almost every night with the two of them. They're 6 and 3. And
Tell me how you got this started, because 'cause I'm a terrible
oh god,
meditator, and I
I'm the worst.
desire to be
Yes.
very good.
So I'm the worst, but I'm working on it. So actually, the chef partner I've been working with, who developed our
Yeah,
recipes. So
yeah.
we had I had this idea of all these international ideas and flavors, and he did it. He like put them together, and he's awesome, and he meditates all the time. And we were visiting a manufacturer out east, and he told me about his meditation that morning and how it reminded him of me about like something about success for the day. I'm like, "Wait, you
Yeah,
meditate every morning?" And he's like,
yeah.
"Oh yeah, I use this great app and whatever." So it's called in I use an app called Insight Timer now, thanks to Chef
Insight
Dan.
timer.
Shout
Okay.
out to Chef Dan. Insight Timer. It's a free app. And
Yeah,
you can just search like 2-minute meditations, 5-minute meditations, or you could put in a phrase like you want to, you want relaxation, you want stress relief, you want success. And so I'll type in 2-minute meditation for the kids, right? And or type in kids, and then you get all sorts of kid meditations. And we sit there, we set up a little table with like their little crystals that they love, and
yeah.
it's very like ritualistic for us. Like it's literally 2 to 5 minutes every single night, and my son will tell me it. He sleeps better, he falls asleep faster, and he has a better day the next day. So Yeah, I don't
Like,
like, end
yeah,
of story, like, that's a really good thing. So I
yeah,
do that, like, and just being with my family is self-care for me, like, it's family can be stressful, but in reality, like, you look at these little faces and you watch a family movie, you do, whatever it is, like, that's self-care, and those are the moments I think that really matter.
for sure, for sure. And so then what does a day, like a normal day in your life look like? Like, I can only imagine.
Well, it's funny because my
Or a
days
week
are
in the
always yeah,
life.
every day is different, like, in terms of my calendar, right? But my husband has a job that's also different times every day, right? So we have very limited, like, eh, there's no real schedule until we know his schedule, right? So it's every day is a little bit different, but it starts with getting the kids off to school, like, one of us takes them to school, and then I mean, Zoom most of the time. I mean, like, I
Mhm.
turned on Zoom yesterday because it had been a
Yeah.
couple weeks because and, I was off and the holidays and it required an update. I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's how long it's been since I was on Zoom," but it was only like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zoom, and I travel a lot. Like I said, my company's headquartered in Chicago, and I'm not there all the time, like, so I go there a lot to Chicago. I don't live there full time, so I'm there, like, 10 days out of the month, so there's a lot of flying. There's the manufacturers on the East Coast, so different time zones. Like, there's a lot of chaos, but most of the day is really, it depends like what stage of the business you're at. Like, at the beginning, it was very much about branding and graphic design and legal stuff of just getting the business up and running. Then you kind of phase into like fundraising and raising money to get the company going, and and then you're going into recipe development and product and getting the product ready, and then there's marketing, there's sales, there's like now it's getting retail ready. So and getting shipping, and there's a lot of logistics with this type of company. So every day is a little bit different, but I will say every night ends with like a shower, bed, bath, and bed, books at bedtime, meditation, and that's my favorite part of the day. And then hopefully my husband and I can watch a little bit of TV together, but that doesn't usually happen. It's usually
Yeah. The
sleeping with the
eyes are heavy
kids.
at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What about cooking? I mean, you worked in food for so long.
Well,
Like, do you find cooking an outlet to relax?
I should have said that like number 1 in terms of self-care. Like, I always tell everyone that cooking is my therapy. Like, I used to do therapy religiously too, and I don't anymore, or at least not very often like I used to. So to me, like, everyone's like, "How do you have time to cook?" I'm like, "How do I don't have time not to cook because that is for me like the 30 minutes of the day that I get to, or whatever it takes. Sometimes I like to do more extravagant meals that take longer, that may be stressful to somebody, but it's, peaceful to me, and I pour a glass of wine and I get to have like a little bit of time. The kids usually help me in the kitchen too, at least not usually, but a lot. They come in
Yeah.
and they want to help or smell things. And so to me, it's exciting to, have them around the food and hopefully learning about the food and stuff. So to answer that question, I do cook almost every night, or at least, have our like leftovers that I made. I try to cook for 2 nights at one time because I can't, every night is just not,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
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 But quite a few times a week, and, yeah, and then, of course, like, quarantine, I cooked every night for like, at the time, I had counted how many days it was since I had,
Mhm.
like, a meal that someone else cooked, and I'm like, "This is actually longer than I would, prefer."
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Someone take the reins here for a minute.
My husband is a
Um,
very good cook, I have to say. I prefer to cook because he makes a mess and I don't. So,
I know there is an art to cleaning up as you go, but
thank you. Me too.
you
He
know,
does not do that, so.
no. I live with someone like that too.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, as far as like, I mean, we talked a little bit about like wanting to expand to sort of every culture, every, dish around the world,
Mhm.
for Global's mission. But like, what other trends are you seeing in food or kids' food
Mhm.
that either you're trying at home in your own, cooking with the kids, or that you think will be like the next thing?
Yeah, I mean, what I would say to that is just like international food in general has been a huge, huge trend over in grocery, period, like over the last 2 to 3 years, and we're not talking, kind of like the international food of our past, frozen pad thais or frozen burritos or frozen, you know what I mean? That's not what I
Tacos.
mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. We're talking authentic food like West African fonio chips, or Mexican
Mhm.
cactus snacks. These are things that you find in the store. And so, international food is everywhere. It just hasn't touched the baby food aisle, which is just mind boggling to me. I mean, now I can't remember the statistic exactly, but there's a huge percentage of schools that now offer at least one, diverse international option at schools too. So I would say that's a huge trend, and we can be found honestly. Like you could probably find us in the international aisle or in the baby food aisle because we fit right. And there's no baby food for sure in the international aisle, like which is crazy. So I think that's a huge trend. Since the USDA and others have come out with their recommendations for early allergen introduction, I wouldn't say it's a trend, but we're certainly getting to a point now where it's pediatrician like recommended across the board, right? So like most parents are told from their pediatrician from the very beginning that they should be doing this. So again, not a trend so much. And I do think snacks are huge. Like the pandemic changed the way we ate as adults and
Mhm.
as kids. And so snacking is really, really big. I
Yeah.
would definitely like to enter that space as well so that, kids can take it on the go and give them, a healthy but worldly option, when they're
Mhm.
prancing around or playing soccer, whatever they're doing, or in the home. So snacking,
Yeah.
I think, is also a huge trend that we'll get to as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, and yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you of, I think I'm a little bit spoiled here in Los Angeles, all this, like,
Totally.
specialty
Yes.
markets,
Yes.
but we actually have an au pair living with us, and she's from Brazil, and
Awesome.
my kids love Brazilian food, and
See,
it's like it
amazing.
and it's like the simplest things, an acai bowl,
Yeah.
or, some, like, bread with, like, cheese, I'll
Yes.
butcher it if I try to pronounce it, but,
Yes. I know what you're
but
talking about, yes.
yeah, but, like, they've just been exposed to so much, and, we've been
That's
going to
great.
Brazilian markets here and making sure that
So
food's in the
cool.
house, and they've just tried unexpected things
Right,
and, like,
right.
been totally obsessed, and so it's that exposure is so key, and then we're just, trying to push it further of,
Yeah.
like, my youngest son loves, like, "Oh, eat chimichurri sauce with a spoon."
See, that's
Yeah,
amazing. That's like my daughter with pesto. It's like a very
yeah,
strong those are very strong flavors. Like,
right.
you'd be surprised how they take to these very strong flavors, but so many of us are afraid to give it to them. And then by
Yeah,
the time you give it to them, like after 18 months or at 3 years or at 4 years, you've passed that window. I'm not saying that it's impossible, it's not. But you've passed kind of that time where they're more open-minded about it. So, and what's so cool about food, it's like this universal unifier. Like you have your friend, your au pair that lives with you, right? She gets to feel close to her culture, like by cooking her cultural cuisine, right? She's introducing this culture to these kids she hadn't met before she moved here, probably, right? Like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
your kids are learning about an entire culture strictly by the food that they're eating, right? Like, and it brings you guys together, right? You're learning about her culture, you're teaching her about yours. Like, that's the thing. Kids are not, no one's born with any sort of like preconceived notion about anyone or anything. So if we're able to influence the way they eat forever, we're able to influence how they think. Like, let them let them see the world through food. Let them like we're actually going to have a QR code on our jars that mom or dad scans while the baby's eating, and it
mhm,
opens this like virtual window to the world. And these videos they show the kid, they're quick videos because these are kids, right? Their attention span, whatever, but they show where the food comes from, like where is it grown, like why is it important to that culture, and like most importantly, my kid gets to see a kid on the other side of the world,
mhm,
eating the same food as they're eating. Like
right,
it's so important. Just food is so ingrained in culture. And I think it's so cool that your kids are learning about the Brazilian culture through the food and enjoying the food. Like, and
yeah,
most kids across the world are enjoying the food that their parents give them because that's all they get. They do not have a
mhm,
freezer full of chicken nuggets. So like so it's just really interesting how we've kind of sterilized baby food in the US and kind of pared it down to pureed fruits and vegetables and even some pureed meats and things like
yeah, yeah,
it's not palatable. If it's not palatable for us, it's not palatable for them. Like we all eat with our eyes, like even kids do. They want to see vibrancy, they want to see different shapes and textures. Like it's yeah, it
yeah,
seems obvious to me, but it took me it wasn't at the beginning. It's just now that with two
no.
kids I kind of know what I would have done differently.
Right, 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 and it's funny when, the twins were born, I joined a bunch of moms groups because they're all in Zoom, and so, you've got some downtime and and you're on it, and there's a popular food blogger here, and she lives down the street in my neighborhood, and she had a baby around the same time and put like this kid's guide to eating.
Mhm.
So in these moms groups, everyone was freaking out and they were circulating her thing and they're like, what do we do? Like my pediatrician says oatmeal, they say like rice cereal and
Oh,
all of this, but she says salt and she says flavor and she says this. And everyone, I was guys, I'm the only second time parent in this one group, and I was like, just go for it.
yeah.
Like my oldest son's first meal was like a Shake Shack cheeseburger because he got really excited. I'm like, "Sure, you wanna lick
Yeah,
this?
take it,
Nice,
try
whatever."
it. Yeah,
Um,
try it all, like, try it all,
yeah,
and then they get to decide what they wanna, keep eating.
yeah,
My pediatrician in Chicago, when my son was born, she warned me, "Feed him everything, everything, everything."
yeah,
That's what she did. That's what
right.
her parents did,
Mhm.
and I didn't with my son,
Yeah,
which is why, like I said, I changed
yeah,
my tune with my daughter. But yeah, it's the again, any parent should do what they feel comfortable with,
yeah, of
and
course.
listen to their pediatrician to the extent that they want to, right? Like if they,
Mhm.
they say rice cereal and the parent says no, I'm going to give them whatever, acai bowl. Great. Like, let them experiment, let them play. But I do think that most pediatricians at this stage, right? Like I think we're in a little bit of a new age, will tell you to kind of take advantage of this time, this flavor window, that kids have.
Yeah, yeah. As a extremely picky eater growing up,
You were?
you know,
Yeah.
I like full for it because you don't really get either A, you don't change your taste buds and you just kind of like eat in
Right.
this box.
Yes.
Or it's so much a later in life thing where you're like, "Oh, other food tastes good," or "I am going to, like, stay
Right.
able to eat this way,"
Yeah.
and then you miss out on a huge window, like 20 years of
No, why
enjoyment.
did you wait so long? It's like,
Yeah,
yes, I'm with you.
yeah,
I'm with you.
yeah, yeah, so, uh, and anything else that you can share of, I think a lot of listeners of this podcast are that full-time working mom trying to like get it all done and
Yeah,
trying to, show up the best in all of their spaces
for sure.
and places. Anything that is you sort of like your secret sauce in life that has really helped you.
Oh
I
my
know this is a big
god.
question here.
I don't know. Like, we're all in this together. It does take a village, right? Like, this is how we learn what to do, is listening to podcasts, talking to friends, joining these mom groups and stuff. But like secret sauce, like, I don't know. Like, I try to practice balance. I really, really do. And I'll be the first to admit, the last 14 weeks, like just through this whole business program I was in and all that, I was not practicing balance at all. And guess what? It's not good for any of us. It's not good. It's not good for me. It's not even good for my kids. It's not good for anyone. And so I try to practice what I preach. So not to say that it's my secret sauce, but it's a secret sauce I'm striving for, which is like, hey, at 5:30, I turn off the computer. Or, for these hours of the day, zero phone. And let's put it away. I'm saying I do not practice this yet. I'm trying. Like, we're not, no one's perfect. I'm really, really trying. They're like, I said to my daughter, she's only 3, but I said, I realize she sees me on the phone all the time.
Yeah.
And I hate it as I'm doing it, and yet I continue doing it. No, I said, I'm going to make a hard and fast rule: no phone in the bed. Right? I don't want them to see me in the bed where you're supposed to be relaxed, sleeping. My bedroom is where we happen to meditate. Like we have a meditation table. Let us picture this place as like as relaxation, as our safe space. There doesn't need to be a phone in there. So I'm trying, very hard to stick by that. And I have for a few days. And I'm going to keep at it. I also feel like, again, this is not my secret sauce. It's more like my resolutions that I'm trying to do, but I'm also trying to cut off like any social media or television at night, like late at night. Not, I like to watch a TV show or whatever, with my husband or, something like that. But I mean, like in bed, I should be reading a book instead of watching the news before I fall asleep, right? Not, I don't want to be stimulated like that. I really want that balance, I guess, is just like, yeah, I think everyone strives for balance, but and
Mhm.
it's recently we were just talking about how it's not the quantity of time you spend with a child, it's the quality of the time that you spend with the child. And I have to remember that because I travel so much, or because I was in this program and it was just all consuming. I try to make sure that the time I do get to spend with them, right? Because they're at school too. It's not like it's just me, they're at school. And so the time that we do get together, I want it to be quality. And so, trying to make sure I do shut off the phone or I do not check the computer and I'm fully engaged, when we're doing
Mhm.
activities together. So that's more like what I strive for, but than like what I of that than my secret sauce. But I really do try. And it's something I actively like think about every day.
Yeah, and I think the phone thing is so good to like have in your mind because I worked with a cell phone company years and years and years ago,
Yeah.
and their Korean counterpart sent this like video on YouTube, and it was literally like all these missed moments. And it was like their kids weren't really involved in the video, but it was like someone was
Mhm.
walking on the beach and they missed a sunset, and they
Right,
were like,
right.
like missed meeting the love of their life because they were like looking down. And I was like, I try to remember that video
Wow,
sometimes too.
that's, like, very powerful.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just like especially around the kids, I'm like, they just see me like this,
Yes,
like
yes.
instead of like being present in their work because we are their world, and I'm like,
Right.
I always like just remember that video.
I know. I'm gonna remember that too, actually. I'm
No,
gonna
I'm like,
think
if
about
I
that.
could find it, I would send it to you. But yeah, no, I think like a lot of people want the balance, but they don't take the action to do it. So,
Right.
I think just any of the little things that you're doing, it's just helpful. They're such helpful reminders for us
Yeah.
all, for
Yeah, and it's
sure.
baby steps. You can't do it all at once. Like, that's why it's not just about New Year's resolutions for me. It's like any resolution. It's like it can start tomorrow. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
start on a particular day. Like just baby steps. Like read 5 pages of a book one night
Mhm.
instead of like just little things. And if guess what? If you didn't do it that day, it's okay. The next day is a new day. You don't have to hold it against yourself. So give yourself a little bit of like leeway.
Yeah, you
We're all
didn't
too hard
fail
on
because you missed it
ourselves.
one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a book, not Atomic Habits.
Yes, I have that book right
Atomic Habits,
here.
James Clear. Yes.
It's right here.
Yes. Yes, and I love the one thing he says in the book of, like, never miss twice. So,
Yeah.
like, miss once, it's fine. Just don't miss it again.
Right.
Like,
Exactly. Exactly.
keep that habit going. So, super important. And then my last question is a question I ask everybody who comes in the podcast.
Yeah.
If you had a button and then, like, I came up with this question
Yeah.
many years ago, long before Amazon created buttons of their own where you could just, like, pop and then you'd get anything you want.
Yep.
But if you had a button to do anything in your life and you could have the button with you all the time and every single time you press that button, the same thing would happen, what would that be?
I wanna say, like, "Bring me a martini every time
Right.
I push that button." Oh my god. That is so good, by the way. I mean, like, it feels like indulgent stuff. Like, I just would want, like, a kiss from my kids, like, every time I pushed it, which I already get, but I know I won't get forever, because we were talking about how quickly they grow up. So, which isn't indulgent, but it kind of feels it. That Oh my god, my entire to-do list would be, like, taken care of. That's good. That's what I would do. Every
Yes.
time I push the button, the whole to-do list would be, like, just completed. Maybe that those can I say those 3 things? Get me a
Yeah.
martini, give me a kiss for my kids, and finish my to-do list. Like, that's it.
Yes, yes.
I'm simple.
It could be a randomizer, like, you're not sure what you're gonna get,
Yeah.
but your button can do those 2 things.
So, like, at 8:30, I push the button wanting a kiss from the kid, but they bring me a martini. It's like
Yeah, still a good choice.
Yeah. Make good choices, kids. That's so
Amazing. Well, this has been a absolute pleasure to catch up with
Same.
you,
You
for
too.
everything going on. Remind everybody how they can get in touch, follow you, see your
Yeah.
journey, and also Global.
Thank you so much. Well, of
Yes.
course, our website, for the food and purchasing the food, and also sign up for our newsletter on the website because I will be sending out like when new recipes or new SKUs come out, but like promo, I'll send promos around holiday stuff and like all of that. So sign up for the newsletter. You could actually pre-order the food until it launches, which is going to happen very, very, very shortly. You'll know because I'll let you know. And then follow us on social media. We're the Globowl on social media. So Globowl, but the at the beginning. And we'll also make announcements there, and you can follow our growth. And we'll make new store announcements and things as it happens. And then personally, I mean, you can follow me too. I try to like put most stuff on Global, but it's Erica Beth Beth has an E at the end. And I think that's where you can find me pretty much anywhere. And I'm also like a big, big, big fan of female mentorship and just, supporting other women. So if, I'm not a guru at all, but if anyone has questions or just wants to reach out, the information's on the website, my email and everything's on the website. Just, I'm always happy to help and lend an ear and support in any way that I can.
Amazing. 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 Well, guys, I will have everything, all of the links and how to get in touch with Erica, how to learn more about Globowl, all in the show notes. So they will be there in case you didn't catch them live here. But thank you so much. This was
Thank
like
you.
so lovely
Thank
to
you.
connect. And I wish I could give you your button right now. But
Me too. Work on that one.
hopefully one of those three things are in your very immediate future.
2 out of 3 of them are. I'll let you guess which ones are gonna happen in the next hour and a half. We'll see.
Perfect. Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Shannon. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It really means a lot.
Of course. Of course. Bye.
All right, bye.